This next lesson is about complementary and supplementary angles. So engineers use angles to construct bridges. The Golden Gate Bridge is created by combining angles as shown. What types of angles make up the two angles marked in the drawing of the bridge? So you notice this side is a right angle. Since this is a straight angle, that means this would also have to be a right angle because they have to add up to be 180. So these are right angles. What is the sum of the two angles marked in the drawing of the bridge? Well, 90 plus 90 equals 180 degrees. In the space below, draw a figure that contains two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. So if I were you, I'd start off with a right angle because that's 90 degrees, and then let's just split it up. Maybe let's call this 70 degrees, and let's call that 20 degrees. Today's lesson talks about the complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles that add together to give you 90 degrees. So complementary starts off CO. What I do is I close up the C, and you now see the number 90, which reminds you complementaries have to add to be 90. Supplementaries are two angles whose measures add up to be 180. Supplementary starts off with an S. When you close that up, it looks similar to an 8, which can remind you of the 180 then. So we're going to take a look at these two angles. Complementary, supplementary, or neither. Complementary, supplementary, or neither. Complementaries are 90, supplementaries are 180, and neither would be neither 90 nor 180. If I look at those two, cover up the bottom half of the picture, together they form a line. Since we know a line has 180 degrees, these two angles together are supplementary because they add to be 180 degrees. In our last lesson, we called this a linear pair. Linear pair and supplementary can be interchangeable. It's just that linear pair are always next to each other. Supplementary do not necessarily have to be next to each other. In this one, we see 60 and 30, and if we add 60 plus 30 together, we get 90, which means that these two angles are complementary because they add up to be 90 degrees. Take a look at A, B, and C. A and B, pause the video and come back to check your answers. In this first one, if we have 85 plus 90, we only get 175 degrees. So A's relationship is neither. In the next one, 75 plus 15, we actually do get 90 degrees. So even though they're separated from each other, they are still called complementary. In here, because we have angle relationships for complementary and supplementary, we can also go ahead and actually write equations. So here we know that this angle and this angle together form a right angle. So we can write the equation 2x plus 28 equals 90. Subtract 28 from both sides. We get 2x equals 32, or oh my goodness, 62, sorry. Divide by 2, and we learn that x equals 31 degrees. If we were to plug that in, 2 times 31 is going to give us 62 degrees. 62 plus 28 is 90. That's how you can go back and check your work. These angles shown are supplementary. That tells us they add up to equal 180 degrees. So we have 123 plus 3x is going to equal 180 degrees. Subtract 123 from both sides. 3x equals 57. Divide by 3. And x is going to equal 19 degrees. 3 times 19 is going to give us 57 degrees, and 57 plus 123 is 180. Last example here, we can look at this one of two ways. We can either realize that since this is a right angle, this would also have to be a right angle. So x plus x has to equal 90. Or we can realize that all together, these three add up to be 180. So we could write x plus 90 equals 180. Either way we solve, we get 2x equals 90 here, divide by 2, so x equals 45 degrees. Or we get 2x plus 90 equals 180, subtract 90, and we get 2x equals 90, divide by 2, x equals 45 degrees. We get the same answer. Last page in our notes, this picture shows a support brace for a gate. Find the value of x. You'll notice this is a line and here's a set of angles. So since they're a line, they're actually supplementary. Or we can even call them a linear pair here, either or. And it looks like we have 10x plus 80 equals 180 because they make a straight line. subtract 80, we get 10x equals 100. Divide by 10, x equals 10 degrees. In the scissors example here, together they make this straight line, so again they're supplementary or a linear pair, and we can write the equation 116 plus 8x equals 180. Subtract 116, so 8x equals 64. Divide by 8, and we get x equals 8 degrees. Down here, you can pause the video, you can try these, and come back and check your work. In number 1, 135 plus 45, this is going to be supplementary because they add to be 180. 23 plus 67, those add to be 90, so they are called complementary. In this last example, finding the value of x, you should write the equation 3x plus 45 equals 180. Subtract 45. So we get 3x equals 135, and divide by 3, and we learn that x equals 45 degrees.